What's up, everybody? It's the Bipolar Prophet, and welcome back to Old Ridge Farm in Farming Simulator 15. So, as you can see, we're down here on Field 9, or Meadow 9, with the transor and the rake. First of all, I want to thank everybody who's given me, suggestions and comments about this thing and tips and everything. I particularly like Martin Garner's comment that he said it looks like a bed frame. He's not far off. I tedded all these fields as I said I was gonna because I need the hay, and I raked field 8 or meadow 8 over there. I don't know how I feel about this thing. First of all, if I bring my HUD back up here, let me just get the HUD going. There seems to be some sort of glitch with the up and down of this. If you look, well, once the Steam notifications get out of the way, that is. If you look at the HUD, you can see that even though it's in the down position physically, it's in the up position in the HUD. So that's reversed. It's a little tricky to figure out, how to unfold this thing, how to get it in a working position and everything. It was as difficult or as easy to hook it up as any other implement for this thing. It is really cool. I mean, if you look close, you can see it's got the hydraulic lines and everything, because obviously all this is run by hydraulics. It's got a hydraulic motor on each rake. It's got all the hoses running to it and everything. And it does function as a rake. But that glitch right there makes it a little difficult. Also makes it impossible for Courseplay to use it, because Courseplay reads from the XML, obviously, and what happens is when you set it to go off on a course, it folds everything up, because that writes in the XML that's the down position, even though it's not. So, okay, well, whatever. One thing you can see, I have $6,054. I've come to a decision. I've spent a lot of money on this thing, between the actual, tractor, between the, the cultivator, not the cultivator, the mower, and now the rake. I think I kind of need to keep it. I've spent too much money, so what's going to end up happening is I'm going to have to get used to it. I'm going to have to use it. At the very least, it will come in handy as another cultivator. I'll buy a cultivator for it at some point when I can afford it. And we can use it to cultivate the fields. As far as a carting tractor or anything that goes, it's not really made for that. So it's not really going to do any of that function, But I think I'm going to keep it just because it's kind of funky, and and once I get used to it, it's really not that bad. So anyway, let's get to raking. If I can get this thing to actually do what it's supposed to do. Like I said, it is very tricky. That's kind of loud, huh? Flashy screen, sorry about that. Oh, no, we better do this from outside, because I'm not very good at raking to begin with, so I'm liable to make a mess of it if I do it from inside the cab. I know one thing I really struggled with was, as you can see it's lifting one side of the rake there, and I don't know why it's doing that. I don't know what causes that. It'll randomly lift a rake for no apparent reason, which is very strange. It'll put it back down eventually, but what ends up happening is it misses parts of the whatever you're trying to rake. So I don't know what causes that to happen. I don't know if it's a glitch with the actual implement, or if I'm doing something wrong. You can see it seems like every time I turn, it wants to lift a rake. So I can't really have that. You know what I mean? The rakes need to stay on the ground, obviously, otherwise they won't rake the material. So, but I just think now I'm into it for so much money that I kind of need to keep it. So it is annoying as hell when it does that, though, and there's really no way to stop it from doing it either. I mean, I can press X to get it to lower again, but then it lifts the whole thing, and then you've got to stop and and then start all over again. And I don't know. I don't know about this thing. I am tempted, to be honest, to just ditch this whole sort of process and say, all right, that's enough of this. And the other thing too is that you got to go really, really slow. You can't rake at any kind of speed with this thing. There it goes, lifting a rake again. And I don't know, again, what causes that. It's not hitting anything that I can see. I've tried moving this up, as far as it'll go. That doesn't seem to help. I've tried moving it out as far as it'll go. That doesn't seem to help. I'm not really sure what I'm doing wrong, or what this thing is, what problems this thing is encountering, but I will say it's kind of annoying. So, I just said I was going to keep it, and now I'm thinking, I don't know, is it worth it? Is it worth the hassle? There it goes, lifting a rake again. I haven't checked to see if there's a new version of this or anything. Maybe with some of these issues addressed, if the person who created this is even aware of these issues. I know that obviously, with my trailed rake, I can just come in here, run around, run back and forth, do everything I got to do, and be done with it, and it doesn't take very long. But with this, it's kind of a process. I don't know if it's a real terrain issue, perhaps. I didn't take real terrain out of the mod folder to check it, because to be honest, I like real terrain better than I like this thing. So one thing I don't have a lot of time for, obviously, I'm not a big operation over here in Old Ridge. One thing I don't have a lot of time for is stuff that doesn't work the way it's supposed to. If it doesn't work the way it's supposed to, then I don't have time for it. As you can see, that outside rake is not doing what it's supposed to do. It's just kind of hovering there in the air. So all I'm basically doing is pushing all the stuff back into the pile over there. Now it comes down, so now I have half a windrow. You know what? I think this is all got to go. I said I was going to keep it, but now that I'm actually using it, I'm just not happy with it. As far as a rake goes, it's basically useless. Now, again, I'm probably screwing it up. I'm probably doing something wrong, but I'm just not in the mood to mess with it. So I don't have time. You know what I mean? I do not have time to mess with it. So it seems like when you turn, it wants to pick up a rake. And at first I thought it was, see, there it goes. I thought it was getting stuck on something, but I don't think that's the issue. I think it's just, I don't know, some random glitch. It's weird. I've never seen a piece of equipment do that before, unless it was hitting something. But it doesn't seem to be hitting anything as far as I can tell. So, and it's not like it's it's not like it's sort of you can lift one side of the rake and then the other kind of deal, because I don't think you can do that. I think it's simply just the fact that there's something in the code of this thing that says, it's hitting something. And if I had the console on and I could look at the collisions, I could probably tell you. But since my main thing with anything like this is it needs to work the way that it's supposed to work. If it doesn't, then I'm not messing with it. So I'm not bothered so much by the fact that I've got to go so slow. That's not really an issue for me. What's an issue for me is that it misses stuff when it lifts up like that. Like right now it's working, but then it'll just randomly decide not to work and make a big mess. And so, and I'm not, I'm a lousy raker to begin with. So anything that makes this harder for me is definitely not something that I want to deal with. But anyway, enough bitching about the transor, right? So. As you can see, we're down quite a bit of money because I have spent, obviously every time I get a new piece of equipment for this, I have to put down another deposit and everything. And Chad's told me, he's like, listen, if this thing isn't working out for you, by all means, bring it back. I'll give you back, half your deposit money and everything, and we'll either ship it back or I'll keep it, and we'll, maybe somebody else will come along who has a use for it. He knows me too well enough to know that my patience level is not really high, as you guys know. And if stuff doesn't work, then I can't mess with it. So what else is going on in Old Ridge? Well, not much. We're still waiting for the bishop. I do want to send out a shout out, a real life shout out to Mike, Reefy 1952. Mirror Man, however you happen to know him. He just had a loss in his family, and it was a cat. If you guys watch his videos, he talks about his cats quite a bit. There's always seems to be a cat sort of hovering around when he's recording and stuff, and he's really attached to his cats. We all know how this is. I have a dog. I know he's a massive pain in the ass, but if anything were to happen to him, I would be very sad. It's like, well, it isn't like, it's losing a member of your family. It's losing somebody, a companion, a friend, a life form that you're responsible for, that you have to take care of, that you form an attachment to. And it's just a heart-wrenching feeling when you have to, when an animal dies, that you're very close to. I know I would be devastated if my dog died. As much as I complain about him, as much as he's a huge, just lunatic pain in the ass, I would be absolutely devastated if something were to happen to him. So I want to send out my condolences to Mike, and he's going to take a break from making videos while he kind of recovers from that, and that's certainly understandable. I would do the same thing, I think. So there probably won't be much in the way of story, well, at least combined story. from Mike and Sean and me until, because Mike is kind of the leader of that. He sort of starts it. We all have our individual kind of storylines, but Mike is really the guy who gets it all started. So until he's back to form, until he feels right about making videos again, at least Ulrich videos, we probably won't have a whole lot of story. One thing that I am going to do, as you guys are aware from the last episode, I was talking about my milk issue with Eastern Milk, not picking up the milk anymore. I think I am going to go UHT milk. I'm going to have to talk to the bank about a loan, another loan. Luckily with milk, milk is one of those things, because it's a commodity, because it's sort of a necessity. The banks are much more willing to lend money for a milk operation, for a dairy, system, than they would be for, say, just a tractor. Like I could go to the bank and say, well, I need $500,000 because I need this tractor. Well, and then I have to provide all kinds of forms and all kinds of things and say, well, do you absolutely need it? What function is it going to serve that you don't already do? And all that other stuff. So, and I was thinking about this morning, and I was like, I've got to, if I decide to, buy this transor, obviously I have to borrow the money or get the financing. You know what I mean? And what's the bank going to say? Well, what does that thing do? That you don't already do. Exactly. So that's but the milk operation, the equipment that I'll need to, ultra pasteurize this milk, shouldn't be too much of an issue. I hope. We will find out, of course. So. And then it's just a question of getting a company in. I've already talked to a couple of companies who build the equipment for that stuff, to get it in, to get it all piped up, to put it somewhere where, it's not going to be in the way and where I can physically get to it and all that. So that's probably something you're going to see pretty soon in the future, because I'm going to have to do something with my milk. I may bring it over to DeKalb for now, just because obviously can't have milk sitting around in my tank, I don't want to waste all the money that I would, lose from just dumping that milk. So, and as I say all the time, I'm steadily increasing my dairy herd, because obviously you kind of got to, you have to increase your herd to make any money. So, I make such a mess raking, and this thing does not make it any easier either. So this may be, once we do the dairy meadow, this may be the last. I don't know. Do I get rid of this thing? Well, not sell it, because I don't technically own it. But do I return it and say, well, thank you? And I don't know. It just seems, the more I think about it, the more I'm trying to convince myself or give myself reasons to keep it. And I shouldn't need to do that. You know what I mean? Tractors and equipment and stuff, you shouldn't need to give yourself a reason to keep it. You should have a reason to have it in the first place. And I just cannot come up with enough reasons to keep this thing, other than the fact that it's funky and it's different. But other than that, there's no real reason for it. I have all the stuff that that this does. So I guess that's that. I guess it's going to go once we're done with it. So now, one thing kind of cool, it took me a while to figure this out too. It's got, what it does is it's got two different keys to do basically the same thing. If you press V, it folds it all the way up, sort of in a transport mode, right? If you press X, it unfolds it and drops it. But then you have to press V again to get it to go down so that you can actually use it. I think this may be a case of a little too much stuff going on for the game, As I said in the last episode, this really is a study tractor. It really is a study in technique and procedures and all that sort of stuff. I'm not sure where I'm going. And it's neat. I just think it may be, I guess if I was just starting out on this farm and this was the only tractor I could afford, because it isn't very expensive, obviously. Obviously the manufacturer wants to sell them, so they're gonna discount them pretty deep to get people to like them, to get people to use them, and then they can raise the price once they have a pretty established customer base. So I guess if I was just starting out and this was the only tractor I could afford, then I guess it would be okay. But as I've said over and over and over again, and I'm getting absolutely tired of saying it, because I have tractors that do all this stuff already, I don't need this. So it was a fun sort of, interesting study thing to play with for a little while, but it's time for it to go back. So I think after we finish the sentence, after we rake the dairy meadow over here, I'll bring it back. I'll clean it up because it's only fair, right? I don't want to bring it back all dirty. And I'll say, well, Chad, thank you, but no thank you. And you can redeposit some of that deposit money, geez, into my bank account. So, like, I was all ready to keep this up until the rake issue. And, obviously, we'll let the manufacturer know about that. Listen, there may be a hydraulic, maybe a relay, an orbital relay issue, with it or whatever, and we'll let them know about that, and maybe they can fix it. But it's just, other than the fact that it's different, other than the fact that I'm the only person in probably the entire, this entire section of England that has one of these, it serves no real function for me. So, no sense keeping it. Oh, I also want to thank the person who gave me the information about how the sprayer works on this. It should have dawned on me that this was designed to spray while you were planting. It's not designed to spray just on its own, which makes sense. But thank you for that information. It's greatly appreciated. Now, if you now see, V unfolded it to that point. Then you have to press X to unfold it again to get it down to where it'll actually work, as you can see. And then it'll start with its, lifting a rake occasionally thing. And, okay, or whatever. So I think probably what we'll do, we'll finish the raking here in this episode. We'll finish the raking, obviously. Maybe we'll bale, I guess, because it doesn't take very long to bale these fields because you don't get a lot of bales. I do want to spread some slurry on them. I may do that off screen. And then in the next episode, hopefully, I will have the financing in place for the UHT milk equipment. So we can get started making some UHT milk. I am going to, see, there it goes, lifting a rake and not picking up the stuff. I'm going to have to get a permit to sell it in my shop. So the milk that I have now, I'm going to have to deliver over to to Cobb. But I think I have to call them and arrange a delivery time. I don't think I can just bring it over there whenever I want. So I believe they only accept it early morning or late afternoon, I think. I may have to text Mike and ask him. He knows more about that than I do. So. And then once the UHT, whatever company I decide to go with, comes out and installs all the equipment and everything, and then what I'll have to do is I'll have to get a permit to sell it in the shop, but that'll be okay because at least once it's processed, you can hold it for quite a while. That lift and a rake thing just annoys me to no end. It makes me just want to go get my regular rake because, you can see how much it's missing. It just won't. No matter what you do, it won't. It won't pick up that stuff, and I don't know why it does that. It doesn't seem like it's getting stuck on anything. So I'm really not too certain what the actual dilemma is there. Probably in the next episode, too, I'm going to have to walk the fields, see what they need, I know a couple of fields are going to need PK. The end level on all the fields are really good, mostly due to the fact that, they were all slurried. They were all turned in from the alfalfa and everything. So, but PK is probably going to be a little bit of an issue. So, that's just, I cannot express my annoyance with that lifting bit, because now I just have to go back and do it again. So, now I'm not, like I said, I'm not bothered about the fact that I'm only raking it, about 3 miles an hour. These meadows are not very big, so it's not like I'd rip through them at 15 anyway. But at least with the trailed rake, I can come to the end of the row, I can lift it up, I can turn around, go back down the next row, not have to worry about it just randomly lifting a rake for no apparent reason. So, okay, well, at least finally we have come to a decision about the transor. It was fun, but ultimately not functional enough for me to keep. So that is that. And it doesn't turn very well. It's not particularly powerful, but I don't need another powerful tractor. You can see, it just does not turn great at all. So, it is a long piece of equipment. It doesn't have the best, the front wheels are very small, which they would have to be. So, again, if you're just starting out, on a farm and you need something that, you don't have a very big farm and you need something that can do a whole bunch of things, I guess this could be an option. My only thing I would think is that although this is for this size tractor, for this horsepower and size tractor, it is far cheaper to buy this than it is to buy, say, even a T475. And this will do all the things a T475 will do, minus the front loader. See, the front loader swings it over to the favor of the T475. So I don't know. I mean, I wish this company well. I hope they, they sell a lot of these. I hope people find them useful enough, to buy them. The company does well, but for me, it's just not. It's not ideal. So it's going to have to go. One thing I did discover pretty quickly when I was over here mowing was that there was no way, like, with the regular tractor, the tractor will, especially on course play, the tractor will kind of get into that tree and then figure it out, back up, and readjust its course and then go about its business. This thing does not. It just, because it's so long in the front, it just gets stuck on everything, so. Just having a look at the soil conditions on these fields, they're in pretty good shape. They're definitely in pretty good shape. So 96, 97% soil moisture, which is great. The PK is a little low over here too, but I'm going to spread slurry on these fields anyway. So probably after the slurry gets soaked in, I will then take another look at the PK levels, and I'm sure I'll need some. So, 100% soil moisture. That is actually too high, for soil mod. Soil mod likes it about 57%. But you know what? With the drought and with the lack of rain, 100% soil moisture is okay with me, because that will give me some buffer for in case it drops down. I won't lose all my grass. Now, I know I should have gone up and down and then done the headlands afterwards, but with the lifting the rake issue, it really becomes difficult to do it that way. So it's just one of those things, right? 22 minutes, I've raked a field and a half. It's just, you know what I mean? I don't know. I think this would have took about 15 minutes to do with the regular trail rake. So, certainly, this stuff is supposed to be designed to make your job. Look at it. It's not even raking. Just drop already. Okay, that's enough. I'm done. You can go away now. Goodbye. Fold up. I'm done. I'm going to go get the regular rake. And this is all going to go back to Chad. So I will wash it first, of course. So, and I will tell Chad thank you, but no thank you. So now I've got to run all the way back to the main farm to get a regular rake, just because this thing has some sort of glitch in it that makes that rake lift. Now, if you guys know anything about this, if you guys have used this and had the same problem and managed to figure it out, by all means, please let me know. But I do not have the patience for it, so I can't have it take 3 hours to rake 3 of these little meadows. So what I will do is I will go just drop this off at the main farm. Might as well grab the big cases over here. Look at this. I can't even turn it. It won't even turn. Oh. I think there's a lot of things about this that are really, really cool, but I think the things that make it not any more functional than a regular tractor, and the little bit of annoyances outweigh the coolness of it, for me anyway. And I'm so tired of talking about it. It feels like all I do anymore is talk about this thing. So I think part of what the problem might be is that I don't have it on the ground. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know what the actual issue is. I couldn't find a spot for the front end of this thing where it was happy. It turns so terribly too. No matter how, now if I bring it in that close, it's basically clipping into the tractor. So I can't bring it in, I can't bring the frame in that close, which would make it turn better. Obviously I don't think it's designed to go full length on the road anyway, because obviously, the people who designed it would know that the turning radius would be so bad that you wouldn't be able to turn it. you got to kind of find a happy medium depending on what you have hooked up to it. Well, there's the phone. Wouldn't be a day if the phone didn't ring. So just give me 1 second, guys. I'm just going to take care of that real quick. There we go. Handled. Okay. And I apologize for being all nasally too. It's it's almost winter here in New England, and that's just part of the deal. So I get stuffed up about October, and I won't clear up again until about March. So no, wrong button. Open the gates. Thank you. So I will park this over here next to the wash pad, so I can wash it, and then I'm not going to wash it right now though. It can wait for a minute. That'll do. All right, you can go off. You can go off. Make sure we set the parking brake. We'll scroll around here till we get to our case, which is right there. I could have just jumped out. There we go. And we'll go grab our regular rake, which I believe is in this shed over here. Oh no, it's in the shed with the trailers and the potato harvesters and everything. There it is. And we'll just go finish this up, and then we'll bail it, and we'll call this an episode. Next episode will be hopefully maybe doing the UHT milk. I don't know. It depends on how the financing and everything goes. Obviously the bank is aware of what I want to do. So they're just waiting for me to say yes. Can you give me an answer? Can you or officially apply for the financing? I guess. So. And sort of just as a to be ready kind of thing, I applied for a permit to sell the milk in my shop, so in my store. Hopefully, I won't run into any issues with that. Hopefully, the council will be decent about that. They have no real reason not to be. So. And sometimes I think we make it sound like the council, is the live or die deal around here, where they are in charge of everything and they handle everything. And to a point they do, but there are other bureaus and other committees and everything that handle things like licensing and permits and, stuff like that. So not everything has to go through the council, proper. So hopefully this can kind of just go through whatever department it needs to go through and get approved and be done with it. So. Because if that doesn't work out, then I got to see if I can sell it somewhere else, if I can get a contract with another store, maybe even to Cobb if they'll take it, and then deal with all that. So, I mean, I guess ultimately it may be cheaper in the long run to just buy a big tanker and just bring it to the Cobb and take the low prices that I get for it, But I don't know. I'm to the point now where I'm like, you know what? I'm tired of getting these, these tiny little prices for this milk that is just so much work and, so much money to produce. If I can make money myself, and cut out all these middlemen and everything else, then, you know what? I just think that makes sense to me. Okay. Now, I know this thing's not going to miss any, so. It's not the best rake in the world. It's a little big. It's a little unwieldy sometimes. But when it's raking, it works just fine. I mean, one button to unfold it, one button to lower it, one button to turn it on, and off you go. V and B, and off we go. And, of course, I missed some because I'm a big idiot. But all right, I need to turn this down now. Probably not that low. There, and give me a little bit of that. There we go. Look, rake. And it's not lifting a rake. It's not doing anything weird. So I don't know, again, if that maybe is a conflict with real terrain, if it's just a fundamental glitch in that implement or whatever. But I know I don't have time to screw with it. So it's that simple. This rake has served me well for quite a while now, and I'm happy with it. So. I'm going on 30 minutes. I don't know what should I do here. Should I finish raking this and then bail, or should we bail in the next episode? You know what? I guess maybe that makes the most sense. I'll finish raking this, and then we'll bail and pick up all the bales in the next episode. Why am I going 10 miles an hour? I don't know. Yeah, we'll do that. I'll finish raking this. We'll bail and pick up the bales in the next episode. Get them stacked up. And then we'll walk the fields and see if the fields need anything. I'm sure they're going to need PK and whatnot, and probably slurry these meadows too, because that's going to need to happen as well. So, like the slurry them, as soon as you cut them, that's really the way that they want it done. To get the best nutrient benefit. So, because obviously slurry doesn't need to be worked into the ground. So, the quicker you can get it on the ground, the better off you're going to be. It's a little bit of an awkward meadow to rake anyway, just because of the shape and because of the way that I mow it to kind of stay, A, off the hedge and B, out of the trees. So it's not the easiest meadow in the world to deal with anyway. But I think that thing, where it misses, when it just randomly decides to lift a rake and it misses, half a windrow, well, that's not making my job any easier. So. Now, I should probably go over and pull that stuff together too, because otherwise that's just going to be, I'm going to miss it all and it's going to annoy me. So, not awful. Could have been better, but you know what? It'll do. So, it's hay. It's just baling. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be a science. So, although I know there are, again, there are those of you who are just amazing with these rakes, and just get everything dead, laser straight and perfect and everything. And I always admire that. I always enjoy watching that kind of stuff. But it's just not me. So. Okay, there we go. That'll do. That'll do. Thank you very much. All right. And we'll go ahead and park this. I've already got a thumbnail for this, even though it may not be the thumbnail that I end up using, but we'll see. Shut that off for now. And I will say thank you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Again, now, raking, not that exciting, right? But at least we managed to noodle through the final decision on the transor now. You know what? You know what we should do? Before I say goodbye, let's wash this thing at least, right? Let's get it cleaned up. Because I'm likely to forget it otherwise. So we will. Ugh, the lag with this thing too. Don't know where the wash bid trigger is for this thing. So it's getting clean though. All right, very good. There we go. Rake's not really dirty. Rake didn't really do anything but hang out in the grass. So, okay. Oops. There's my chainsaw. And that'll do. So there you go, guys. Again, thank you to everybody who has suggested, about this thing. Keep it, don't keep it. Get a John Deere. To everybody who's told me to get a John Deere, find me a very good one. And I mean a very good one, guys. Not some convert, half converted with all these scripts that don't work that are going to kick errors in my log and everything. I would love to have a John Deere. I really would. But I have not found one that I like yet. I know Greg Thomas, GT Farming, has, just, looked at every John Deere in the world, it seems like, and has found them all pretty much lacking, unfortunately. If you can find me a good mid-range one, maybe in the 6 series, maybe 7 series on the outside. That's getting a little big, but that works, that looks good, that gets dirty, that isn't buggy or weird or anything. By all means, I will absolutely take a look at it. So, and is there anything else I wanted to say? No, I think that's about it. Thank you for all the help. Thank you for the suggestions about the transor. Thank you for those of you who liked it. Thank you to those of you who didn't like it. I like it. It's not functional enough for me, and that's the bottom line. And as always, guys, thank you so much for coming to the channel, for liking, for commenting, for subscribing, for being active members of our community. It means so much to me. I say it every video because I want to say it every video because it really does mean something to me. Thank you so much. And as always, thank you for making me a part of your YouTube day. And this is the Bipolar Prophet saying, see you later.